Thank you for listening and supporting the Daily Memphian. Sign up for one of our many free newsletters and breaking news alerts at dailymemphian.com/email to receive the latest local news stories impacting our community. Our weekly newsletters cover everything from sports to arts and culture, business, food, and more, along with daily updates of all the news we publish each day. Sign up or manage your email preferences at dailymemphian.com/email.
I'm Bill Dries, reporter with the Daily Memphian. We are talking with Ken Moody, running for the Democratic nomination for Shelby County Mayor in the May County primaries. And this is on the record. We record this Thursday, February 24th, 2022. Well, the field is set for the Democratic primary for mayor. It is you and incumbent Mayor Lee Harris. And we talked when you filed your qualifying petition. This is what you wanted, a one-on-one matchup with the incumbent. Why?
Well, thanks for having me, Bill, because I know that there's just stark differences between us. And I think that when you've got two choices and people can look at each person for their record, for their skill set, for their ability, it's an easier decision for people to make. And I think, I know that what I bring to the table, my 20 years of experience in city government, my engagement in this community, and every role I've had in city government that connects me with every level of people, citizens in this community, and my involvement in this community. And so I believe it's to my advantage to have it as a one-on-one, not that it's to my advantage that I win, but when the citizens only have two people to choose from, and they can look at those two individuals and the differences in those two individuals, I think it makes it for a fair and equal race. And so I'm extremely excited that it'll just be myself and the mayor.
Mm-hmm. The mayor, Lee Harris, and juvenile court judge Dan Michael announced recently that there will be counselors at police precincts to divert juvenile offenders from ever having to come into contact with juvenile court, actually become a part of the process there. You've been critical of that timing. Tell me why you think the timing is off on this.
Well, number one, we've been screaming for more support to juvenile court for over 3 years now, maybe 4 years. And I just think that it's quite coincidental that the response now comes 2 months before early vote starts. Again, that is just quite, it's not a coincidence. And then we need to do more, Bill, to prevent our young people from being involved in the juvenile court system, period. This provides opportunities or services for those individuals after they've made the mistake. We've got to be proactive. We've got to work on prevention. I've got plans on how we can be proactive, and we need to put funds in programs that prevent our kids from getting involved in the law enforcement system. And so, again, I believe that the timing of it is quite coincidental. When, again, we've been facing this challenge for years. There's been a cry out for support for our youth for years. And to do this right before an election, it borderlines, if not borderline, it's pandering that I think I feel is not positive. And it's not a real genuine effort in making sure our kids have opportunities. Again, we need to do more on the preventive end. We need to do more with our school systems. We need to do more with providing opportunities for our youth and funding opportunities for our youth, not just to juvenile court, but for programs that our youth are interested in. We need to talk to our youth, talk with them to see what they're interested in. But we need to do a better job in county government, and I will, to provide preventive measures, preventive programs for our kids. This does not go far enough at all.
The county mayor, as you know, cannot tell the juvenile court judge to do anything. So don't these kind of arrangements take time to build and show us the limits of the powers that the county mayor has?
It's just not what he's done now is what he could have done time ago. That's funded. No, he does not tell the juvenile court judge what to do. There's been a cry out for funding for more programs for our kids. And that's all he's doing now is providing funding for more positions. It's not telling the juvenile judge what to do. My stance is there should be more funding. And so that's what he's done now is he's given the funding that has been cried out for years. And I'm saying that funding also needs to be for preventive programs.
Mm-hmm. So in the 2018 elections, we had a Democratic mayor and an 8-vote Democratic majority on the county commission. And there were still disagreements about whether to move, for instance, first for a juvenile detention center or instead move first on a juvenile assessment center. And ultimately, the assessment center hit some other roadblocks not too far down the line about whether juveniles are taken there or are offered a choice to go there later. So in pledging an active role for the mayor on this, how is that going to get the issue past these kind of bottlenecks that are more complex than the mayor saying this is the way it's going to be?
Well, the challenge he has is that because there's not been cooperation with his legislative partners, the county commission. When they hear issues, Bill, for the first time, the same time that you and other citizens are hearing, that's not respectful. And so many of the concerns, not just with this assessment center, but just overall in the way that he has operated with his legislative partners, requires them to have some pushback. These are conversations that are so important. These are programs that are so important. This is funding that is so important, Bill. These conversations need to be taking place with the legislative body to make sure they're all on the same page and they understand it. You know, to hear about these things for the first time, I mean, a prime example yesterday, the announcement with the juvenile court judge of those 3 positions. That was the first time the county commissioner heard about it when he announced it. You've got to work with your partners on the county commissions to move this county forward. And that was just one of many examples. It just happened to be this one you're talking about, but there have been many examples of that lack of cooperation and communication from the county mayor with his partners on the county commission. And that's where the pushback comes from. We all want to be responsible, but there's a level of respect, there's a level of cooperation, there's a level of communication that the administration should have with the commission that often causes these kinds of problems with funding important initiatives for us to move this county forward.
Your criticism comes as Memphis Mayor Jim Strickland, who you are an assistant to, has been critical of county government generally, not Harris by name, for not doing enough to stop what he has called a revolving door at juvenile court for such offenders. And that raises a few questions, I think. First, are you and Mayor Strickland of one accord on this? And is he supporting your overall challenge of Mayor Harris?
I will not speak to whether Mayor Strickland is supporting my overall challenge. Again, I'll leave that question for you guys to ask him. I would say this, that the mayor and I have always in constant conversation. We've got a great relationship, and we'll continue to have a great relationship. The mayor believes in second chances, Bill, just like I do. We've got a reentry program. Our Manhood and Wilders program is a reentry program. What frustrates all of us, and that's not just elected officials, it should frustrate all of the community when crimes are committed by individuals, and they should be given a second chance. The mayor supports our second chance program, but when that same individual continues to do those same crimes over and over again, at some point, there should be stiffer punishment. So we're not in disagreement with this at all. Again, he and I both believe in second chances, but he and I also both believe that there should be a certain level of responsibility taken by the perpetrator that does this. And so I don't think that we disagree. We agree with a second chance, but we also agree that people should be held accountable for the crimes they commit.
Okay. Second question. You've been critical of Mayor Harris's pandemic response, saying he turned down help from the city. Tell me more about that. Is this something that the Strickland administration also says specifically? Because I have to tell you, while this was going on, Mayor Strickland's position, even as the governor was slamming the county's leadership on vaccine distribution, was that the city needed the county as it took over vaccine distribution.
Yeah, and what the mayor is saying is, as I talk about the lack of leadership on the county mayor's part, this was a collective effort. There was not one entity in government that could handle this by themselves. And that's what ended up happening. if you look at who all was involved, it ended up, after the pandemic and after the failure on the county side to put the vaccination program in place, the city took over, but we took over with partners. We took over with assistance from the county, with hospitals, with doctors, with community partners. This is a pandemic, first time in our generation that we've had to deal with such a challenge as this pandemic. And there is no one entity that could handle this by themselves. And what happened initially, that's what the county tried to do, is handle it by themselves. And so when we took over it, we again incorporated a partnership with different entities to help deal with this. That's what it takes, Bill. It takes a collaborative effort to bring people together to address an issue. That's what we did on the city side when we took over it.
So tell me what you think the county mayor's role is in fighting crime. Beyond things like counselors in juvenile court, what can the county mayor do in terms of fighting violent crime?
You have an opportunity as the county mayor. Again, there's a mindset that I don't have the authority over law enforcement, so I should just totally push that responsibility to law enforcement. What I believe, Bill, and what I know will work, is that if the county mayor would respectfully ask, and this again is bringing people together, which is what I will do, if the county mayor would respectfully ask our sheriff, our Memphis police chief, the suburban police chief, and the suburban mayors, can we all come together to meet, to talk about a crime plan for Shelby County? Law enforcement is law enforcement's responsibility. Crime is all of ours. And so there's that one office that says Shelby County Mayor, right? That is the office that is the county's mayor. That is the office that has the authority, not the authority, but has a opportunity to ask all of those partners in the city and in the suburbs, let's come together and talk about a crime plan for Shelby County. I believe in my heart, Bill, if that's asked respectfully, no way any of them would say, no, I'm not interested, because crime is a Shelby County problem. And right now, crime has been left for Memphians to deal with, for Memphis problems, and for the suburbs to deal with their own problems. There is a role that the county mayor can play in bringing all of those entities together as the county mayor to talk about crime. Crime is not just a Memphis problem. It's a county problem, and it's moving out to the suburbs now. And they see that, and I know there will be a willingness on their part to bring all of this together, to come together, to talk about how can we collectively share best practices and come up with a crime plan. And we're going to do that, Bill. It's doable, it's needed, it's deserving, and we're going to make sure we get that done.
Shelby County politically is a majority Democratic county. Where do you think Democratic voters are specifically going into this May primary? Do you think they are dissatisfied at, let's say, the level that voters were in the nonpartisan race for Memphis mayor in 2015, when you had the matchup between Mayor Strickland and the then Mayor A.C. Wharton? Is the dissatisfaction, you think, on that level?
Yeah, I do know that there's a dissatisfaction. Again, that's one of the reasons, Bill, I'm running. This wasn't just a Ken Moody decision. It was because of a Ken Moody's conversation with many of the voters that participated in the primary election 4 years ago. And so I do know that. I've heard it. I've heard it from regular citizens. I've heard it from the faith-based community. I've heard it from the business community. I've heard it from everyone, from voters. And so I would tell you, just look at the turnout. I think there may have been a 17, 18% turnout in the last election. The county mayor won with 44,000 votes. So that in itself is definitely a reflection of that was not a candidate, I believe, that they could get excited about. And so, again, we do know that there's some dissatisfaction with the voters. We've talked with them. We've heard what their issues are. And that's a good thing about me and my role, Bill. I don't have to send out a questionnaire to anybody asking them, what are your issues? I know because I'm involved and I'm engaged, and I know what the issues of the people are. The issues are crime. The issues are education. The issues are jobs, economic development. The issues are what can we do more for our youth. Their issues are minority business. Those things on my platform that are there is because I know that's what the issues of the people are. So yeah, and I believe we're going to encourage more voter turnout this time because we've got a message that's resonating. Our message is resonating because we've heard from the voters. I've been engaged and involved, and I know what their issues and their challenges are. They are concerned that too often we only see elected officials during campaign season, during election time. I hear that. It's a challenge I face, although I'm the candidate now and I've not been an elected official the last 4 years. I hear that, and so I know the dissatisfaction that the voters have with elected officials only being present during campaign season. That's the county mayor's problem right now. I mean, it's a fact. I mean, I hear it. He has not been visible. He's not been responsive. He's not been involved. He's not been engaged. And so we know that there's been that discontent, and we're addressing that.
Mayor Harris has said his priority in this reelection campaign is bettering the situation of middle class and working class families with things like better access to health care and promoting a living wage. What's wrong with those priorities, especially with an office whose autonomy is pretty severely limited, especially when you compare it to the strong mayor form of government over on the city side?
There's nothing wrong that people deserve a living wage. We need to make sure people have affordable and available health care to provide them. But there are just so many other problems we have. We got 20% poverty, Bill. We've got our kids that are not reading at the level that they need to be reading on. We got to make sure we've got an educated workforce. And so there's nothing wrong with those two things that he's focused on, but those are the only two things, Bill, for the last 4 years he can highlight that he's focused on. Our county face many more problems, and you don't have to have this authority you need to make a difference, Bill. You don't have to have that authority. What you have to have is an understanding of what our community needs and how you can use whatever authority you have to provide that. But you got to know your community. You got to know what their needs are. You got to know how to lead, and you got to know who you're leading.
All right. A final point. In looking at the May County primary ballot overall, and we're doing this interview on what is the withdrawal deadline day, which passed at noon just about 2 hours ago as we speak. And the thing that I notice overall is that, number one, the Republicans only have one contested primary on the May ballot, and that's for one of the county commission seats. So Worth Morgan, the presumptive Republican nominee, is unopposed and advances to the August ballot. The other thing that struck me about the list is that every Democratic incumbent countywide on that ballot is challenged in the primary. What do you think that says about where Democrats are in terms of their dominance of county government for the last 4 years?
I'm going to only speak, Bill, to the reason why I'm running for the county mayor's office. I think you'd have to overall a statement from the overall party. You may want to go to the party. I'm speaking to, I know there's discontent and there's a request for change in the county mayor's office from the community and from the conversation that I'm having. I don't know that my race directly impacts the overall Democrat picture, but I can only speak to why I'm running. And so you'll have to ask the other candidates who are running for those various offices why they're running. I mean, we do live in a democratic society and people deserve to have a choice. And so that's why I'm doing it. So overall, I can't give you the answer to that question. But before we end, Bill, I want to go back to the pandemic and the lack of leadership that was shown there and the lawsuit that was just recently filed. We didn't touch on that, and I want to make sure we do touch on that. That shows to me, again, that a leader, Bill, whenever a failure happens under a person's leadership, they should accept responsibility for it and not blame somebody, not throw someone under the bus. And I know you've seen that lawsuit. That lawsuit is specific to what this successful career woman doctor is saying she was accused of by the leader of Shelby County. That's not leadership, Bill. A leader, again, leads, sets example by leading, and accepts responsibility when things don't go the way that we want them to go. Although we giving someone else that responsibility to do it, a leader still shares some role in that responsibility.
Right. And you're referring to the lawsuit that was filed by the Shelby County Health Department's director of vaccine distribution, who has filed a lawsuit against Shelby County government, essentially saying that she was made the scapegoat in the problems with the vaccine distribution system.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I'm referring to. Right. Yes.
All right. Yeah. Well, we've been talking with Ken Moody, who is running for Shelby County Mayor in the May 3rd Democratic primary. I'm Bill Dries, and this has been On the Record.
In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.